Act 1. Setting the scene breakdown. 1. Opening scene: exterior of Emeka and Chioma's home. A sweeping shot of Lagos transitioning to the serene home Emeka and Chioma share, setting up the contrast between the peaceful domestic life and the bustling city. 2. Int. Emeka and Chioma's bedroom: early morning. The first light of dawn filters through the curtains, illuminating the room in a soft glow. Emeka and Chioma are seen in a comfortable, loving embrace under the covers. The alarm clock rings, and Emeka reaches out to turn it off, trying not to wake Chioma. Emeka. Whispering. 5 more minutes. Chioma stirs, opening her eyes to meet Emeka's. They share a soft, sleepy smile. Chioma. Teasingly. You always say that, and we always end up rushing. They both laugh softly, enjoying the comfort of their bed a moment longer before finally deciding to start the day. 3. Int. Kitchen morning. The kitchen is warm and inviting. Chioma is at the stove, flipping pancakes, while Emeka prepares coffee. The ease between them is palpable, moving around each other in a well-practiced dance. Emeka. Reaching for a mug. Pancakes on a weekday. What's the occasion? Chioma. Just felt like starting our day off with something special. Emeka comes up behind Chioma, wrapping his arms around her waist, and plants a kiss on her cheek. Emeka. Grinning. Every day with you is special. Chioma playfully nudges him away, trying to focus on the pancakes, but her smile betrays her affection. 4. Int. Dining area morning. They sit down to eat together, the morning light casting a serene atmosphere. There's a comfortable silence, filled only with the sounds of cutlery and the occasional shared glance. Chioma. Suddenly. Oh, I almost forgot. You said your parents called yesterday. Are they excited about their visit? Emeka's expression shifts slightly, a hint of tension at the mention of his parents. Emeka. Yeah, we should start preparing the guest room. Chioma reaches across the table, squeezing his hand in a gesture of support. Chioma. We'll manage. We always do. They share a moment of understanding, acknowledging the challenges ahead but reassured by their partnership. Emeka. Raising his coffee mug. To us, no matter what comes our way. Chioma. Clinking her mug against his, to us. The scene closes with them enjoying their breakfast, a picture of unity and love, ready to face the world together. 5. Int. Chioma's fashion studio day. The studio is bright and bustling with activity. Fabric swatches, sketches, and fashion magazines are scattered across a large worktable. Chioma, focused and determined, stands at the center, surveying a mannequin dressed in an unfinished garment. Chioma. Muttering to herself. This needs more contrast. She sifts through a pile of fabric, her eyes lighting up as she finds the perfect piece. She drapes it over the mannequin, stepping back to assess the effect. Cut 2. 6. Int. Chioma's fashion studio day. Chioma sits at her drafting table, pencil in hand, sketching with rapid, confident strokes. Her phone rings. She glances at it, sees it's a call from Emeka, and smiles before returning to her work, letting it go to voicemail. Chioma. Focused. Later, love. Cut 2. A young designer timidly approaches Chioma, holding a sketchbook. Young designer. Miss Chioma, could you take a look at these? Chioma turns her attention to the young designer, her demeanor shifting to one of supportive mentorship. Chioma. Encouragingly. Let's see what you've got. As the young designer flips through the sketches, Chioma nods approvingly, offering constructive feedback. Chioma. Pointing to a sketch. This is good, but think about the flow here. You want the fabric to move with the body, not against it. The young designer listens intently, absorbing every word. Cut 2. Chioma returns to her work, adjusting a piece of the garment on the mannequin. She steps back, her eyes scrutinizing every detail. Chioma, to herself, that's it. She takes a moment to admire her work, a satisfied smile crossing her face. 7. Int. Chioma's Fashion Studio Day. Chioma, now reviewing a lineup of completed outfits on several mannequins. She adjusts a hem here, a neckline there, ensuring everything is perfect. Chioma. To herself. We're going to make a statement. The camera pulls back to show the vibrant, creative chaos of the studio, with Chioma standing confidently at the heart of it all. Cut 2. 8. Int. Emeka's office day. The office is functional and neatly organized, with a large desk and a computer screen displaying financial charts and projections. Emeka stands beside the desk, explaining a complex strategy to a colleague seated across from him. The atmosphere is focused and professional. Emeka. Pointing to the screen. By implementing this strategy, we're looking at a potential increase in our quarterly profits by at least 15%. The data here shows the substantial growth potential. The colleague nods, clearly impressed, but raises a concern. Colleague. It sounds promising, Emeka, but aren't there significant risks with such a bold approach? Emeka leans forward, his confidence unshaken, as he addresses the question. Emeka. There are risks, of course, but they're manageable. We've completed comprehensive risk assessments. Let me walk you through our mitigation strategies. He proceeds to outline his approach to risk management succinctly, demonstrating his expertise. Cut 2. Emeka wrapping up his explanation, a slide on his computer reading, a bold step forward. He looks at his colleague, inviting any further questions. Emeka. Any more concerns? The colleague shakes his head, now convinced by Emeka's thorough preparation and clear vision. Colleague. No, I'm impressed, Emeka. You've really covered all the bases. Let's proceed with this plan. A sense of accomplishment fills the office as Emeka nods, a modest smile on his face. Emeka. Thank you. It's all about teamwork. As the meeting concludes, the colleague extends a congratulatory handshake before exiting the office. Emeka takes a moment to himself, his gaze lingering on the computer screen, a symbol of his professional prowess. Cut 2. Emeka, now alone, checks his phone for any messages. Seeing a missed call from Chioma, he quickly types a response. Presentation went well. Excited to share the details with you. Fade out. 9. Int. Emeka and Chioma's home evening. Emeka is seated at the dining area as Chioma dishes the food. The atmosphere is cozy, a picture of domestic harmony. Emeka. Chioma, we need to talk about my parents' visit. Chioma sits down at the dining table, sensing the seriousness in his tone. Chioma. What about it? Emeka. Hesitantly. They don't know we're living together. You know how traditional and religious I told you they are. I'm worried about how they'll react. Chioma's expression shifts to one of concern, understanding the gravity of the situation. Chioma. So, what do you suggest we do? Emeka. Sighing. Maybe we could introduce you as my housemate, just for the duration of their visit. Chioma looks taken aback, the suggestion not sitting well with her. Chioma. Pretend we're not together. Emeka. That feels like a step backward. Emeka. Reaching for her hand across the table. I know it's not ideal, but it's just to avoid any tension. Once they leave, things can go back to normal. Chioma pulls her hand back, standing up to pace the room, trying to process the proposal. Chioma. And what about us? Our relationship. Hiding it feels wrong. Emeka. Standing to face her. I hate this too, but I'm trying to protect us from unnecessary drama. My mom, she can be really traditional. I just don't want to upset her, especially with her health. Chioma stops pacing, looking into Emeka's pleading eyes. The conflict within her is evident, torn between her principles and her love for Emeka. Chioma. Softly. I understand your concern, Emeka. Let's think about it a bit more, okay? We'll find a way to handle this together. Emeka nods, grateful for her understanding, though the dilemma hangs heavy in the air between them. Cut 2. They sit down to eat, the earlier warmth replaced by a thoughtful silence. Both are lost in their thoughts, contemplating the upcoming challenge to their relationship and the facade they might have to maintain. Fade out. 10. Int. Emeka and Chioma's home living room evening. The living room is comfortably lit, with soft music playing in the background. Emeka sits on the couch, phone in hand, a look of concentration on his face as he dials his father's number. The phone rings, and after a brief pause, Mr. Okafor's voice is heard through the speaker. Emeka. Smiling. Hello, Dad, how are you and Mom doing? Mr. Okafor, VO. We're doing well, apart from your mum's blood pressure. Emeka. I know, Dad, but I have made arrangements with a very good doctor who will do a thorough health check on her when you come. Mr. Okafor, VO. Good, good. Thank you, my son. We can't wait to be there. Emeka. Same here, Dad. Chioma, my housemate. She's looking forward to meeting you too. Mr. Okafor, VO. Curiously. Tell me more about her, Emeka. You haven't mentioned a housemate before. Emeka pauses, searching for the right words to describe Chioma without revealing too much. Emeka. Chioma's great, very hard-working and respectful. You'll like her, Dad. Mr. Okafor, VO. In a teasing tone. Respectful, sounds like a good influence. We're eager to meet her. And, Emeka, make sure the house is comfortable for your mother. Emeka. Reassuringly. Of course, Dad, I've taken care of everything. Mom will have nothing to worry about. Mr. Okafor, VO. That's my boy, always taking care of things. Alright, we'll see you soon. Take care. Emeka. You too, Dad. Safe travels. Emeka hangs up the phone, letting out a sigh as he leans back into the couch. The weight of the upcoming visit and the deception about Chioma's true role in his life sits heavily on him. Fade out. 11. Int. Emeka and Chioma's home, their bedroom evening. The bedroom is a cozy sanctuary, dimly lit with soft, ambient lights. Chioma sits on the edge of the bed, her expression troubled. Emeka walks in, noticing her discomfort. He sits beside her, their shoulders touching, a silent gesture of support. Emeka. Gently. What's on your mind? Chioma takes a deep breath, gathering her thoughts. Chioma. It's about pretending I'm just your housemate when your parents come. I'm really struggling with it, Emeka. Emeka's expression softens, understanding the depth of her concern. Emeka. I know it's not ideal, Chioma. And I hate putting you in this position. Chioma. Turning to face him. I value honesty, Emeka. It's the foundation of our relationship. This lie, it feels like we're betraying that. Emeka nods, acknowledging her feelings. Emeka. You're right, and I feel the same. But my mom's health. I just want to keep things as stress-free as possible for her. Chioma. I understand that, and I want to support you. But where do we draw the line? Pretending to be something we're not. I worry about what it means for us in the long run. Emeka takes Chioma's hands in his, a gesture of solidarity. Emeka. Whatever we decide, we'll face the consequences together. My priority is you and us. If you're not comfortable with this, we'll find another way. Chioma looks into Emeka's eyes, seeing the sincerity and love reflected back at her. She squeezes his hands, a silent acknowledgement of their bond. Chioma. Let's promise to always find our way back to honesty, no matter what happens. Emeka. Firmly. I promise. We're in this together, always. They share a moment of quiet understanding, their resolve strengthened despite the uncertainty of the situation. Chioma. Finally breaking the silence, let's figure this out. Together. Emeka nods, and they lean into a comforting embrace, the challenges ahead daunting but their commitment to each other unwavering. Fade out. A lively, upbeat song plays over a montage of Chioma and Emeka preparing their home for the arrival of Emeka's parents, highlighting their teamwork and the lengths they're going to maintain their ruse. 12. Int. Emeka and Chioma's home kitchen day. Chioma and Emeka are in the kitchen, packing away any items that might suggest a shared life more intimate than housemates. Chioma looks at a photo of them on the fridge, hesitates, then takes it down. Emeka places it in a drawer, giving Chioma a reassuring look. Cut 2. 13. Int. Emeka and Chioma's home living room day. They rearrange the living room, Emeka lifting heavy furniture while Chioma directs him. They pause, laughing, as Emeka nearly bumps into a lamp. The mood is light, despite the underlying tension of their task. Cut 2. 14. Int. Emeka and Chioma's home guest bedroom day. The couple is now in the guest bedroom, making up the bed with fresh linens. Chioma fluffs the pillows while Emeka places a welcome note on the bedside table. They share a satisfied nod, acknowledging the room's comforting and inviting setup. Cut 2. 15. Int. Emeka and Chioma's home their bedroom day. In their own bedroom, Chioma packs away personal items and photographs into a box, including a picture of them. Emeka watches, a pang of sadness in his eyes, but he helps her close the box, symbolizing their commitment to facing this challenge together. Cut 2. 16. Int. Emeka and Chioma's home hallway day. Chioma hangs a piece of traditional artwork in the hallway, stepping back to admire it. Emeka joins her, wrapping an arm around her waist. They look around, seeing their home transformed to accommodate the deception. Cut 2. 17. Int. Emeka and Chioma's home bathroom day. In the bathroom, Emeka removes Chioma's beauty products from the countertop, leaving only a few items to suggest it's also his space. Chioma exchanges a glance with Emeka that mixes amusement with a hint of regret. Cut 2. 18. Int. Emeka and Chioma's home bathroom day. The montage ends with Chioma and Emeka standing in the living room, looking at each other. They know they've done everything they can to prepare, but the apprehension and the absurdity of the situation catch up with them, leading to a moment of shared laughter, breaking the tension. Emeka. Jokingly. Well, if this banking thing doesn't work out, we could start a home staging business. Chioma. Playing along. Only if you promise not to nearly knock over any more lamps. They share a warm embrace, their laughter fading as they brace themselves for what's to come. Fade out. 19. Int. Chioma's fashion studio day. The studio is a burst of creative chaos, with Chioma standing amidst her latest designs, looking pensive. Nkechi enters, her presence a bright contrast to the studio's intensity. She spots Chioma's troubled expression and approaches with concern. Nkechi. Noticing the tension. What's up? You look like you're trying to solve the world's problems, not just design its clothes. Chioma manages a small smile, gesturing for Nkechi to sit beside her at a small, cluttered table. Chioma. It's about Emeka's parents. They're visiting, and we've decided to pretend I'm just his housemate. Nkechi's eyebrows shoot up, surprised. Nkechi. Wow, that's quite a plan. Why the need for all the secrecy? Chioma. His parents are traditional. We're worried about how they'd react to us living together without being married. Nkechi nods, understanding the dilemma but concerned about the implications. Nkechi. I get why you'd consider it, but that's a risky game. Pretending to be something you're not, even with the best intentions, can lead to unexpected complications. Chioma sighs, acknowledging Nkechi's warning but feeling trapped by the situation. Chioma. I know, but I don't see another way. I don't want to be the reason for any family tension. Nkechi. Placing a supportive hand on Chioma's. You won't be. But remember, honesty usually finds a way of coming out. And when it does, it's better it comes from you, on your terms. Chioma considers Nkechi's words, the weight of the decision heavy on her. Nkechi. Encouragingly. Whatever happens, I'm here for you both. But think about this, maybe there's a way to show them who you really are, together, that respects their traditions but doesn't hide the truth of your relationship. Chioma looks at Nkechi, a mix of gratitude and newfound resolve in her eyes. Chioma. Thanks, Nkechi. I needed to hear that. We'll find a way to make this work. The right way. Nkechi smiles, her confidence in her friend unshaken. Nkechi. You always do. And hey, if you need a distraction, I can always come over and pretend to be the chaotic housemate from hell. They both laugh, the tension breaking for a moment, as they find comfort in their friendship and the humor of the situation. Fade out. 20. EXT. Emeka and Chioma's home exterior compound day. The sun casts a warm glow over the exterior of Emeka and Chioma's home. A taxi pulls up to the curb, and Mr. and Mrs. Okafor step out, their faces a mix of anticipation and fatigue from the journey. Emeka rushes out to greet them, a wide, welcoming smile on his face. Emeka. Enthusiastically, Mom, Dad, welcome. He embraces his parents warmly, first his mother, then his father. Mrs. Okafor clings to Emeka a moment longer, her eyes misty. Mrs. Okafor. Emotional. Oh, Emeka, it's been too long. Mr. Okafor pats Emeka on the back, a proud smile on his face. Mr. Okafor. Look at you, all grown up and successful. We're proud of you, son. As they share this moment, Chioma appears at the door, watching the reunion with a smile. She steps forward, joining Emeka as he turns to introduce her. Emeka. Mom, Dad, this is Chioma, my housemate. Chioma, these are my parents. Chioma extends her hand, her smile warm and genuine. Chioma. It's so lovely to meet you both. Welcome to our home. Mrs. Okafor studies Chioma, her expression one of polite curiosity, before shaking her hand. Mr. Okafor follows, his handshake firm and friendly. Mrs. Okafor. Politely. Thank you, dear. Emeka has told us so much about you. There's a hint of scrutiny in her voice, but Emeka quickly interjects to ease any tension. Emeka. Let's get you inside. Chioma prepared some refreshments. They move towards the house, Emeka carrying their luggage, leading the way. Chioma walks beside Mrs. Okafor, attempting to make small talk. Chioma. I hope the trip wasn't too exhausting. We've prepared the guest room for you to relax and freshen up. Mrs. Okafor nods, her attention on the house and the compound, absorbing her surroundings. Mrs. Okafor. Casually. It's a lovely home. My son has done well for himself. The group enters the house, leaving the warm afternoon light behind. The door closes, symbolizing the beginning of the shared time and the challenges and revelations it will bring. Fade out. 21. Int. Emeka and Chioma's home guest bedroom day. The guest bedroom is bathed in soft afternoon light, the decor welcoming and comfortable. Mr. and Mrs. Okafor are unpacking their suitcases, placing clothes into the dresser and closet provided. The mood is quiet, reflective, as they settle into the temporary home. Mrs. Okafor. Placing her clothes into the dresser, thoughtfully, Emeka seems to be doing well for himself, doesn't he? Mr. Okafor nods, hanging up a shirt. Mr. Okafor. He does. I'm proud of him, but I wonder about him living with this Chioma as just housemates. It's not common, you know. Mrs. Okafor pauses, her expression mirroring her husband's concerns. Mrs. Okafor. Sitting on the bed. I noticed that too. They seem Comfortable around each other, more than just housemates, perhaps. Mr. Okafor sits beside her, taking her hand. Mr. Okafor. Reassuringly. Let's not jump to conclusions. Emeka knows our values, and this Chioma, she seems respectful and well-mannered. Mrs. Okafor sighs, still not entirely convinced. Mrs. Okafor. Concerned. I just hope they're only housemates. Meanwhile, how do you know she is respectful, that one that looked like Mamawater? Mr. Okafor. Thoughtfully. True, but we also want him to be happy, don't we? Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. We'll observe and talk to Emeka. He'll listen to us. Mrs. Okafor nods, the lines of worry softening as she considers her husband's words. Mrs. Okafor. Finally agreeing. All right, but we'll have that talk with him. I want to understand his plans for the future, especially concerning marriage. They share a look of mutual understanding, their concern for Emeka's adherence to tradition evident, yet tempered by their love for him. Mr. Okafor. Standing, determined, we will. For now, let's rest. We'll have plenty of time to talk with Emeka and get to know Chioma better during our stay. Mrs. Okafor nods, standing up to join her husband in finishing their unpacking, both settling into the guest room with a mix of apprehension and hope for the days ahead. Fade out. 22. Int. Emeka and Chioma's home dining area evening. The dining area is warmly lit, with a table set for 4. The atmosphere is filled with the aroma of Nigerian cuisine, a testament to Chioma's efforts to make the evening special. Emeka, Chioma, Mr. Okafor, and Mrs. Okafor are seated, with plates of jollof rice, plantains, and other dishes between them. The mood is polite but charged with an undercurrent of awkwardness as the Okafors try to navigate conversation with Chioma. Emeka. Trying to ease the tension. Chioma made all this. She's an amazing cook. Mr. Okafor smiles, taking a bite. Mr. Okafor. Delicious, indeed. You have a talent, Chioma. Chioma smiles appreciatively, but Mrs. Okafor's gaze is more evaluative than warm. Mrs. Okafor. Curiously. So, Chioma, Emeka tells us you're into fashion design. Chioma nods, eager to share about her passion. Chioma. Yes, I have my own little studio. It's been my dream since I was a girl. Mrs. Okafor nods, her interest piqued despite herself. Mrs. Okafor. That's ambitious. And your family, what do they think about your career choice? The question hangs heavy, hinting at deeper, unspoken concerns about tradition and propriety. Chioma senses the underlying judgment but responds with grace. Chioma. They support me fully. They believe in following one's passion. Emeka watches the exchange closely, ready to intervene if necessary. Mr. Okafor, sensing the tension, changes the subject. Mr. Okafor. Cheerfully. Well, it's important to do what makes one happy. Emeka, tell us about your work at the bank. Any new developments? The conversation shifts, but the initial exchange has left a lingering sense of unease. Chioma and Emeka exchange a glance, an unspoken communication of support and solidarity. Cut 2. As dinner progresses, the conversation becomes a mix of light topics and subtle probing from Mrs. Okafor, with Emeka and Chioma navigating the questions carefully. Despite the occasional awkwardness, they manage to maintain a facade of normalcy. Cut 2. The dinner concludes with Emeka and Chioma helping to clear the table. The camera focuses on them, their hands briefly touching in a silent vow of unity against the challenges posed by the visit. Fade out. 23. Int. Emeka and Chioma's home kitchen night. The dinner has ended, and the kitchen is quiet, save for the sound of running water as Emeka washes dishes and Chioma dries them. The tension from the dinner lingers in the air, a silent companion to their task. They work in a comfortable silence for a moment before Chioma decides to break it. Chioma. Softly. That was more intense than I expected. Emeka glances over his shoulder, offering a tired but understanding smile. Emeka. Yeah, I noticed. My mom's questions were a bit much, weren't they? Chioma places a dried plate in the cabinet, turning to fully face Emeka. Chioma. It felt like an interrogation at times. And pretending to be just your housemate. It's harder than I thought. Especially with your mom watching us like a hawk. Emeka turns off the faucet and dries his hands, his expression growing serious. Emeka. I know, and I'm sorry you have to go through this. I thought we could handle it, but seeing you uncomfortable made me realize how unfair this is to you. Chioma reaches out, touching Emeka's arm in a gesture of reassurance. Chioma. We're in this together, remember. I agreed to this plan too. But, Emeka, how long can we keep this up? Your parents aren't just here for a few days. Emeka takes a deep breath, the weight of their situation settling on his shoulders. Emeka wraps an arm around Chioma, pulling her close. Emeka. Together, we'll make it through this. The camera pulls back as they stand together in the quiet kitchen, their bond a beacon of hope amidst the uncertainty of the days ahead. Fade out. 24. Int. Emeka and Chioma's home. Emeka's bedroom night. The room is dim, lit only by the moonlight filtering through the window. Emeka lies on the bed, alone, staring up at the ceiling. His face is etched with worry, the gears in his mind visibly turning as he contemplates the web of deception they've woven. Cut 2. Emeka's POV. His gaze shifts to the empty side of the bed beside him, a palpable symbol of the distance their lie has created, not just physically but emotionally between him and Chioma. Emeka. Murmuring to himself. Is this how it's going to be? Cut 2. 25. Int. Chioma's temporary room. Same night. Chioma sits on the edge of the bed, a space that's become hers to maintain the facade of being just a housemate. She's hugging her knees, her expression one of isolation and introspection. Cut 2. Chioma gets up and walks over to a small window, peering out into the night. Her solitude is palpable, a stark contrast to the warmth and unity they usually share. Cut back to 26. Int. Emeka and Chioma's home. Emeka's bedroom. Same night. Emeka rolls over, reaching for his phone on the nightstand. He hesitates, contemplating reaching out to Chioma, then sets the phone back down, a sigh escaping him. Emeka. Whispering to the emptiness. We thought this would protect us. Protect them. But at what cost? Cut 2. Emeka gets out of bed, his movements slow, heavy with indecision. He stands at the door that leads to the hallway, a literal and metaphorical barrier between him and Chioma. Cut back to 27. Int. Chioma's temporary room. Same night. Chioma, still by the window, wraps her arms around herself, seeking comfort in the cool night air. She turns back to look at the door, contemplating the distance between them, both physical and emotional. Cut 2. 28. Hallway. Outside the rooms. The hallway stands silent and empty, a visual representation of the space between Emeka and Chioma, filled with their unspoken fears and the weight of the deception. Fade out. 29. Int. Emeka and Chioma's home kitchen. Morning. The kitchen is bathed in the soft light of morning. Chioma is at the stove, flipping pancakes, while Mr. and Mrs. Okafor sit at the kitchen table, sipping tea. Emeka enters, looking sleep-deprived but trying to mask it with a smile. Emeka. Good morning, everyone. He joins them at the table, pouring himself a cup of tea. The atmosphere is cordial, but a palpable tension hangs in the air. Mrs. Okafor. Casually, yet pointedly. Emeka, dear, you look tired. Didn't you sleep well? Emeka exchanges a quick glance with Chioma, who gives him a subtle nod, encouraging him to tread carefully. Emeka. Just some work things on my mind, Mom. Nothing to worry about. Mrs. Okafor nods, her gaze shifting between Emeka and Chioma, her expression thoughtful. Mrs. Okafor. Turning to Chioma. Chioma, these pancakes smell wonderful. Cooking for everyone must keep you busy in the mornings. Chioma, sensing the underlying scrutiny, responds with grace. Chioma. It's no trouble at all. I enjoy cooking. Plus, it's nice to have everyone together for breakfast. Mrs. Okafor continues, her questions veiled under a guise of casual conversation. Mrs. Okafor. And how do you manage, living as housemates? It must be quite an adjustment, sharing space with someone you're not related to. Emeka interjects, aiming to steer the conversation away from dangerous waters. Emeka. We manage well. We respect each other's space and schedules. Right, Chioma. Chioma nods in agreement, but her smile doesn't quite reach her eyes. Chioma. Absolutely. We have a system that works for us.